Welcome to the Sports Tonight Euro 2012 betting zone. We're going to find the value in Euro 2012 for you, and I do feel a little bit like I'm impinging on private grief. I know England went out last night and it's not a happy time, but the great thing about punting is that there's always a way back. There's always a way to feel good about a tournament, whether your team wins or not. So we're going to try and find whatever value is left for you. To do that, I'm delighted to be joined by Nigel Seeley, the betting butler, and Chris Graham. Nigel and Chris, lovely to have you.
All right, Nick, how you doing?
Yeah, really good. Really enjoying the tournament, apart from the result last night, of course.
It's been fabulous, isn't it?
You're probably still loving it as a Scot.
Yeah, no, I did notice
delicate.
a discernible difference in my attitude towards England's exit last night. I was a wee bit moved. It was quite sad actually. Just being in London and just being amongst the crew here and the people here. It's been a great experience, and I would hate to see that quelled after last night's elimination.
No, I think that the semi-finals are so exciting that people are still going to. It's such great games and some great teams, and I mean, my general thought, Nigel, is the football's just been outstanding.
It has been. I mean, it has been everyone expected it to be a terrible tournament as far as the football, as far as the stadiums, as far as the countries hosting it. But it's been absolutely amazing. But as far as I'm a massive England fan, and I was so disappointed last night. And there's a part of me that the tournament died last night, and I think there's a part of punters as well. I mean, there are your professional gamblers out there who like betting on the football, and what we're going to see two absolute belters of a semi-finals. But as soon as England go out of a competition, I'd say about 50% of the betting public sort of say that's it. We'll move on to something else.
So people will be interested to know, how's that reflected in the numbers on the books? Does it diminish the amount that you have at stake on each match?
I think what happens when you get to these kind of stages, there's not much error in the prices, and your 10, 20, 30 pound recreational punter comes out and goes back to betting first goal score or correct score. Your more serious punter comes out to play, your big punters. So the figures are probably about same, but the number of people betting will be a lot less.
Yeah.
And I think the guys in the betting shops. I mean, you do a straw poll on the streets now, everyone will be deflated. I think that we consider the people betting. I mean, and the way England played yesterday was just such an inept performance. I was looking forward to the game more than any game I've ever looked forward to. It's about 1996, and the way they let everyone down. I mean, just appalling. And I feel that the British public, the betting public, probably, however great these semi-finals are, I think the turnover will be massively reduced because England aren't there.
Yeah, I think it was a huge night last night, especially because it was a Sunday night. I think the viewing figures were over the 20 million mark, which is extraordinary. Amazing, isn't it?
Amazing stuff. But I think the bookmakers, the industry generally, is upset because I think we were expecting about 15 million to be staked last night, but that was perhaps even going to be doubled or another 5.
England-Germany semi-final
Thursday night would have been extraordinary. So in that respect, it's a real shame.
And it's my birthday Thursday night. And I was going to barbecue plan, and all the boys around there now. We've got to watch Italy against Germany.
You can still have a barbecue.
I'm cancelling. It's off.
Really?
It's off. The barbecue's off.
Nigel's withdrawn his buns. How are you both getting on in terms of your own punting?
Me, I started well, fell off the pace, and then came with a late rattle last night. My most successful night punting last night, 0-0 and penalties. So
I feel like last night was kind of one of those nights where it just went exactly how you would have assessed it would have gone. I think like the sort of astute punter probably did all right last night.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I know you did very well on the under 2.5 goal market, and a lot of people would have played that market, but that market is usually around about 5 to 6, 4 to 5. You've got to take 2 on for that game. Now, I know in hindsight, you look at it, it's never going to be a goal, but if one of them chances goes in the first 2 minutes.
Oh, the first 5 minutes was horrible.
You would have been absolutely
this is like
totally
the
different
most stretched attacking game
You've
of the
had to go very short. I mean, if anyone taking 2 on or 2 to 5, shortest I can remember a game under 2.5 goals is around about 4 to 9. And to take those kind of prices, anyone will tell you, someone like Channing who's more professional, look to say you can't statistically win by backing those short prices. But on that game, you got it right. You called it right. It was right. But how low could you go under 2? How low could you go?
Yeah, that was really close. And probably, I'm taking a little bit the worst of it there over time. But it was just that specific game with those teams.
Yeah, I mean, you look
Hodgson.
at the penalties. I mean, the penalties in that game. What price did you take the match to go to penalties on?
92. I've got 92.
92. I mean, you're looking at other games in a tournament. It's like 16 to 1, 14 to 1. So you're taking a lot lower under the odds on that particular game to go to penalties. Everyone's got it right.
So actually, the bookies probably were a little bit unlucky that it actually went to 4.
I think what happened last night. I mean, just reading through the tweets of some of the PROs in the bookmaking industries, they kept the draw so short that it put people off, and the patriotic pound took time to come, but it came with a vengeance last night, and it was a perfect result. And I think sometimes the 0-0s of this world are great for more of your shrewder client, but the true requirement is probably 5% of your database, and if 95% are macking something, it's a perfect result. So, but saying your point with how the tournament's gone, I mean, I haven't had a bet because I would have absolutely done my brains if I would have been out of the game going into that game last night. I'd have sold goals in most of all the games. I'd have absolutely done my absolute.
It has been weird, hasn't it? It's been more attacking and open than people thought, I think. Let's take breath and check out how the tournament is. More on England later on. We're going to talk England's future, a little bit about Hodgson, stuff like that coming later in the show. So do stick with us. But we're going to look at the tournament as it stands right now. After the quarterfinals, as I said, time to take breath and see where we are. 4 teams left, of course, as we enter the semis this week. And 2 outstanding teams, but 2 live outsiders. So it'd be interesting to see what money they attract. Spain are the favourites just from Germany, Portugal and Italy, the other 2 teams involved.
That's our sponsors list, but actually I looked at all the different bookmakers and what the prices are, and the most common prices is joint favouritism.
Yeah.
Germany, in fact, are favourites above Spain, and most lists. So Spain favourite is actually the least common. The 3 combinations there, so that's really interesting. For me, I think Germany should be favourites. I really want to get Spain here. I backed them not to qualify from their group. I'm determined to get them beat. I think it might come.
Why? Why do you think that? Because I mean, you're talking about the World Cup winners who barely let the other team have a kick.
Yeah, France was just so disappointed on Saturday night. I really put all my eggs.
That's the French, Chris. I don't know how you can be disappointed by the French.
I love France. I love the nation. I really do. And I was so disappointed. Nice. It was so powder puff they were on Saturday night. Really poor. I just think this is. Spain are missing David Villa. It's not as good a side as it was in 2010. I just think the Germans will be too strong for them. But I think Portugal are a big prize. I know we'll look at the win-draw-win later on the semi-final. I think Portugal are a big prize.
Well, you're sitting next to Mr. Portugal. Yeah. Your dark horses from day one.
1987.
1987, yeah. A Latin flavour to you.
No, I mean, on the outright market here, I cannot believe Germany aren't favourites. Yeah. I cannot believe it. I think that Germany, they've rested their 3 best players in the semi-finals. The 3 best players come back, but they haven't played, so they're match fit. They played in a canter against the Greeks. They played a team that got 48 hours rest over a team who've just played 2 hours. And the Italians, I don't think are great shakes. I think they're allowed to play against the English. I think Pirlo, we all know what I actually think about Pirlo. I don't think he's the greatest player in the world. I think he was allowed to play last night. I think Schweinsteiger will stop him from doing anything he did last night. Ozil will be a playmaker. And I think the Spanish task against the Italians is a much easier task than Spain against Portugal.
Okay.
And I think when they get to the final, if they do get in the final, I think it's a pick and match. So I just can't believe that Germany aren't the favourites for this competition.
Interesting analysis of it. Let's just look. You can bet to name the finalists if you want to be specific about who's going to make it there. Spain, Germany, as I said last week when talking to Nigel, it's of a major football tournament. It's the clearest case I can remember of 2 teams that are head and shoulders above the other teams, almost like they're playing in different leagues, really. So Spain, Germany is 11-10 if you want to name those 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the favourite one. That's the one everyone wants to see. But I mean, the Portugal factor, this fact that they've got the best player in the tournament, you know, and who can drag them through. I just don't fancy Italy at all to get through against Germany. I think Germany to me will beat Italy very, very convincingly. It's just a question who gets through that Spain-Portugal game. But everyone wants a Spain-Germany favourite. It's been heavily backed, and it's the favourite because they are the best 2 teams in the competition.
Okay. Let's have a look at player of the tournament. Seeing as how you mentioned who you think is the best player of the tournament, and you can back Ronaldo as the favourite. Iniesta, Ozil, Pirlo, Schweinsteiger. No Stevie G. That's weird. What do you think about this, Chris?
Well, I would on the trends. You need a player, a sort of midfielder from a team who wins the competition. That's
right.
I think Sammer 96, Karagunis in 2004, Zidane in 2000, Xavi in 2008.
Good knowledge.
So, yeah,
you didn't look at your notes once. That was awesome.
I've done my research.
Yeah.
So in that respect, Ronaldo's probably the best favourite. But having watched his performances so far, they've been absolutely quite inspirational. Certainly the last 2 games.
It's interesting that he's favourite for this though, because obviously Portugal are less likely to win the tournament, and you would think a lot of times the player of the tournament would come from the winners.
Well, I think if he gets them to the final, he'll win it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think if you think Portugal will qualify, you might want to back Ronaldo because I think just that achievement of getting to the final is purely. I think he makes it. I know there's other players who contributed, some good players in that side, but I think he's the main. But I think what Alonso did at the weekend's a great bet, 25-1. He scored 2 goals and won a Grand Prix. So that's quite that's quite impressive. Isn't it? 25-1. So he would be
the double Alonso stroke never gets old. It's always class.
We're just worth saying about Italy. If you fancy Italy, God help you if you do, but it's worth backing Pirlo at a bigger price to win Player of the Tournament, because if Italy win it, Pirlo will definitely win Player of the Tournament, I would say. So he's a wee bit bigger price than Italy to win it. So
what price is Diamanti? I mean, he got the winning penalty. He was awesome when he hobbled around at West Ham.
I think he's short at 200.
Does he say the man from Diamanti?
Yeah.
No, but I think he's he would be a mini price, but Pirlo, I mean, I can't have him on my mind. I think Ronaldo, though, just in what he's done in the 2 games. If he gets to the final, I think the winners. I think Germany are right for favourites. I think Chris might have backed the winner of competition here at 4-1. And I think we're both on Schweinsteiger anti-post, so we need that. But Ronaldo, the way he's playing at the moment,
Schweinsteiger, I think he got every chance. Let's have a look at the Golden Boot winner. I don't even know if they call it the Golden Boot. The top goal scorer in Euro 2012. Gomez is the short price favourite with Ronaldo. And you can understand why. They've both scored well already, and both in the semi-finals. 2-horse race for you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I can't believe Torres is 11-2. I mean, he's 1 behind with only 2 games to come, and he's not guaranteed his place in the starting 11.
Doesn't look like he's in his first choice 11.
He's one of the worst 11-2 shots I've ever seen. I mean, I think it is a 2-horse race. I think the thing here though is crucial. I mean, if he goes with Klose or he goes with Royce in the Germany game, he's very tactically minded. He's got so much guns at his disposal. Really get the team news on this, because if you find the team news early, then lump on Ronaldo. But if Gomez plays, he's a serious threat.
That's interesting, isn't it, Chris? Because this won't probably instantly reflect the team sheet, so you might be able to find
a couple of points about this market, Nick. Gomez is a real differentiation in his price. He's 13-8 favourites with some lists, and as big as 72 in other lists. So perhaps worried whether he'll start with Klose, I don't know. And another thing as well, something that's just been on my mind for about 10 days now, and I keep meaning to tweet about it, but this is a great platform to talk about. Mario Mandzukic should be out this betting. He's been credited that goal against Ireland, which definitely he shouldn't have been given that goal. It hit the post and then off Given's head and went back in again. It wasn't going in. If by chance none of the top boys score another goal, he's got to be able to share a golden boot, which I think is grossly unfair.
Grossly unfair, but could happen.
It could happen, which is wrong. And as a punting, from a punting perspective as well, it's having an influence on that market as well. So let's hope someone scores a 4th goal and knocks him out.
Okay, well, I'm pretty confident they will, but we'll find out. Of course, we'll keep you with all the developments in that market as we go on. But after the break, we're going to look in depth at the 2 semi-finals and find the value for you there. Also, more England chat to come, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Euro 2012 Betting Zone here on Sports Tonight, and we are talking Euro 2012 semi-finals. Time to get into the specific matchups. We've been saying 2 teams head and shoulders above the rest. Well, they're going to have to prove it now. Both of them facing live challengers in the semi-finals. We'll talk Portugal, Spain first of all. How do you see this one, Nigel? Obviously, the Spanish. It's almost become like a bandwagon to say, oh, are they quite as good or are they vulnerable? They're still winning. They're still winning comfortably.
They are still winning comfortably. They're playing their style of football, but there's something about. I mean, I think when you play them at a similar time of game, you try and play it. You're asking for trouble. You've got to be more direct. You've got to go at them. You've got to go at pace. You've got to go at power, and that's when they're beatable. I mean, the French didn't turn up, and I think after the first 10, 15 minutes, that they thought, well, we've got no chance here, and the heads went. With this Portuguese side, I got a feeling they fancy their chances here. I mean, we're going about right now, with how strong now at the back. Pepe, I think, has been superb. They've got something about them. They've got a bit of a fight about them. They've got a bit of belief about it. I've backed Portugal all along at the very beginning, but I just got, even if I hadn't backed them, I have a feeling they could. I don't know if they can beat them over but I think it's going to be a long night. I think it's not going to be as clear cut as the bookies suggest this.
They do give them some problems, don't they, Chris, in terms of matchups, because with Nani and Ronaldo, they've got good counter-attacking players, which is what you need against Spain, isn't it?
You do, and we're seeing a lot of negativity about Spain at the moment in terms of the press coverage. I think people are beginning to fall out of love with their style of play. People are saying just passing for the sake of passing, almost like art for art's sake. I'm
not convinced that's true. I think that's almost a media thing where they don't have anything to write about, so they write that people.
Well, you should have been on Twitter on Saturday night, because it was.
I wouldn't go on Twitter on Saturday night. I've got to be honest.
But one thing we have to say, Spain have never conceded a goal in the knockout stages of the tournament for 6 years.
It's amazing.
It's the 6th anniversary on Thursday when the semi-finals take place, and I think it will happen.
Tough to concede a goal when the other team doesn't have the ball, isn't it? Let's look at the match odds, shall we, for semi-final number 1. That's what I'm calling it. I don't know what order they actually are. Spain and Portugal.
Well, these are similar prices to the game against France,
same,
isn't it? Exactly the same. So, I mean, do you think France were a better side than Portugal? I think Portugal were a better team than the French. And so, I mean, I would like to take the Spanish on it. I mean, I think we could have another game where it goes all the way. I think that with the Spanish side, that they've got these flair players who like to play the football. They've got Iniesta, play lovely ball, but they've got to now track back and go back from Nani, and they've got back from Ronaldo. And I think that Portugal has got a great chance here. The only trouble with them is they do have Spain have a massive psychological advantage over them. And that's the thing.
Well, you see that, mate, but Portugal have lost only 2 of the last 12 against Spain. Portugal have got a great record against Spain in the last 20 years.
Yeah, but I mean, just as a nation, I mean, it's not on the football pitch, maybe different, but there is something like this when the Spanish come into town. They played in the last World Cup, didn't they? And Portugal didn't play that great in that game. I mean, Spain played really, really well, and there was something that Portugal looked a little bit worried about them. But Ronaldo was just, if anyone can turn it on in this game, and he's doing it against these Spanish people week in and week out.
Well, that's true.
In La Liga, so it's not like he's going against someone who hasn't really like a Premier League defence. So Ashley Cole knows his number. He's doing it week in, week out. So I think Portugal have a chance.
Okay, we've got method of victory here for you to look at, Chris. While you chat, what sort of game do you think it will be?
I think it will be 1-0. I think it will be
tight,
a tight affair. But for me, the bandwagons of Portugal here, they're a feisty side. There seems to be a growing confidence amongst them. They started with their defeat against Germany. Ever since then, they seem to be improving for me. I think 72 is a very generous price. The prices of both semi-finals are absolutely identical. And I think Portugal have got a much better chance against Spain than Italy do against Germany.
You'd have to say, this is going back to your point earlier, Nigel, you have to say there must be an error in there somewhere for the two semi-finals to be identical kind of prices, because they're not like Portugal is surely a tougher matchup than.
Well, I mean, Chris's stat, I didn't know that stat. I mean, I always sort of thought that the Spanish had a much better record against them than that. And Portugal have one player who can just turn it on one night, and they won't be able to cope with him. Obviously, that big factor, which we come on to, I'll leave it till we come on to the other game. But I mean, Ronaldo is just the key factor here. I mean, and teams have got better and better and better as the competition has got on, and even against Germany. For long parts of that game, they were the better side against the Germans. They hit the post, they hit the bar. They were the much better side. Germany got a goal at the right time, nicked it 1-0. But for the last 25 minutes, Germany were hanging on there. And I think these Portuguese are really got something about them. They've got flair, they've got width, they've got pace, they've got some fierce tackling, and defensively they're strong. The only doubt for me is the goalkeeper, but he's not going to be put under aerial bombardment by the Spanish side. You know exactly what you're going to get. When the Germans play this, if they play him, I think it might be a tough night for the goalie. But the goalie is not going to be threatened there. But I think the Portuguese have got a fantastic chance in the semis. 72,
I think that's a really big price. I really do. I was expecting it to be 5-2.
Right. Okay. Wow. A whole point. So a lot of value. We think in Portugal. I disagree a little bit. I think the Spanish will be reasonably comfortable. But who am I to say? Let's take out the second semi-final. Germany take on Italy, and Germany, many people's favourites now for Euro 2012. Some dispute, which is fascinating at this late stage, as to favouritism in the tournament as a whole, depending on which book you look at. But Germany do take on Italy. As we briefed you before, the match odds are very similar to the first semi-final. Very similar, read identical. And we already know how you feel about that, Nigel. Do you think this is a much easier match?
Germany. I think Germany win this easy. I really do. I didn't see it. I mean, I know England played poorly, but there was nothing that the Italian side that would scare Germany. They were sitting there rubbing their hands.
I mean, I think the critical thing is that they're not going to sit off them like we sat off them, are they? They're not going to do that. They're going to match them in midfield. They're going to press them high up the pitch.
You look how many chances they missed. Look how many chances Balotelli missed. He broke the offside trap 4 or 5 times. Forget about they couldn't score. They didn't score in 90 minutes. They had about 8 or 9 clear-cut chances. Cassano, I mean, would he get into the English side? Would he get in up front? I don't think he's any great shakes. I think Pirlo run the show. I think they're a very, very average team. I think England were a disgrace and disaster for the tournament. But Italy aren't no great shakes. Just because they've beaten it in England's side, they've played for 2 hours. They've got players suspended.
This is until Thursday, though, so that shouldn't be
I think it makes a massive factor. I think it's a massive factor.
Get your energy drinks, have a rest. What's the problem?
You saw how tired England got in that game. Stevie Gerrard going down with cramp and stuff like that. The heat out there is very hot. The temperature is high even at that kind of night. I think the 48 hours rest they've had, and the fact they've rested their 3 best players, forward players, they have the luxury of six forwards that they can just say, "Oh,
incredibly bold thing to do that by the German manager. Very kind of. I mean, not the perhaps biggest risk in the world because they're playing Greece, but still, not every manager would have done it.
In this country, it just wouldn't happen.
You wouldn't.
Just
Rooney on the bench wouldn't happen.
But it shows you what strength they got in depth. They say it's a risk. They bring a guy who's played 100 caps and scored 50 goals. Well, our risk would be to rest Wayne Rooney and bring in Andy Carroll or bring on someone who hasn't proven.
Andy Carroll, who of course played much better than Rooney in this tournament.
But they've got players who. Sorry.
They've got great depth. Great depth.
Germany, like the same price as Spain. I think Germany, I agree with Nigel, I think a much better proposition here.
Okay.
Although the stats scream Italy. In fact, apparently Germany have never beaten Italy in a competitive game, which is absolutely extraordinary.
It's weird, isn't it?
Absolutely extraordinary.
Just have the Indian side over. Let's have a look at the method of victory. What kind of game do you see this being? Do you see the Germans being able to dominate them?
Yeah, I could see a goal in each half here, maybe 2-0. I can't see it going extra time. Certainly not like the game in 2006 where that wonderful semi-final, which was 0-0 in 90 minutes, and then the Italians won 2-0, I think, in extra time. Germany won 15 in a row now. I mean, they've scored in 20.
You have to say that one of the most disappointing things last night was how little we tested the Italian back line, because to me they didn't look great, and I think that against this German attack, which is very direct but in a technically astute way, I think they're going to have everything they can handle.
I think it's in midfield as well. I mean, Schweinsteiger, Pirlo's going for a test against Schweinsteiger.
Just in case you haven't picked up on this, Nigel's not a Pirlo fan.
I think he's a great player. I think he's a great player, but he's 33 years of age. This guy's been around for years. I just think if he was that good, he would have been signed up and gone somewhere better. I mean, 2 games he's played well. You could give any player that amount of time against England last night, and he would look a world beater.
And he's not going to get it against.
And
Germany.
He won't get it against Germany because Schweinsteiger will be on him like a rash, and Ozil will be allowed to play, and they'll have too much strength in depth, and on their bench they can call on people who've scored 40 international goals. They can call on Podolski, who scored 26 international, in the high 20s international goals. They've got a team
strength
of
and depth, every
unbelievable.
Every department.
Put Mertesacker at the back.
I'm getting a bit depressed now. Why can't we be more like them? Just copy whatever they do, for goodness sake. Let's get some efficiency into our proceedings. Unfortunately, we're not, and we're out, but Germany look like they're marching on potentially to a Euro 2012 title, but they'll have to get past Italy and, of course, Spain. We're going to take a little break, but after the break, we're going to be talking more England. We're going to be discussing the future for England, the future for Roy Hodgson, and if there's any value in betting on those things. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back to the Euro 2012 betting zone. We're talking Euro 2012, the semi-finals, and England's exit. Delighted to be joined in studio by not only Chris and Nigel, but also for this part and the rest of the show by Alan Alger from Blue Square. Alan, great to see you.
Yeah, you too, Nick.
Yeah, keeping well?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
And give me your Euro 2012 review so far. Have you enjoyed it, first of all?
Well, we were enjoying it at Blue Square up until last night when, up until the quarterfinals really. We refunded any team knocked out on penalties. So all that patriotic money, which, to be honest, there wasn't as much of it this time round as before, but there was certainly enough of it to miss, seeing as we've given it all back this morning because they got knocked out on penalties, which was a concession that we were running. And once again at a Euros, I remember it happened in Euro 2000, the odds-on favourites all came in. So the obvious treble that everyone was having on the quarterfinals managed to come in before the England-Italy game. So it was a significant amount of money you've had to refund, because that's an amazing promotion, to be fair. Yeah, well, the England refund itself is just under £40,000 that we've given back on the outright market. And I mean, obviously that was a big blow. We've given that back as free bets up to £100. But the main thing for us was that we just didn't get a result. We didn't get a result in the quarterfinals, and it happened at Euro 2000. I don't know if it casts your minds back, but France managed to beat Spain late on in the final game. That was when Spain weren't actually that good. They were outsiders for the game at about 3-1 against the World Cup holders, and they were holding them to a draw right to the end. And then France managed to nick a goal, and that made all those accumulators successful for that. And because the England-Italy game was so close on the prices, we just really didn't see much action for the three sides. But the three favourites beforehand, they were all backed. Yeah, they have an expression in American sport, they say a lot of chalk
when the top seeds keep going through. And that's basically what's happening, isn't it, Nigel? And when there's no upsets, what does that mean for bookies?
It means bookies lose money.
Yeah.
It's pretty simply. I mean,
That
usually a
is
nil-nil
very,
draw.
very
Usually a
sad.
nil-nil draw, you win the lot. You cop the lot. But obviously, Blue Square got that offer last night. But I mean, one thing that Alan said there, which is amazing, it shows you how the game's changed in the last 10 years. If England in the World Cups 8 or 9 years ago, 10 years ago, you wouldn't be refunding 40 grand. You know,
Exactly.
not the bookmaking business. It's the patriotic support. It would have been 10 times more. Than that.
So what's happened to the patriotic bet then? What's
For
happened?
me, this is the one thing I'd take away from this tournament. It really is. There's the lack of patriotic money. What's happened? Has the gambling public matured? Has it become more sophisticated? Less prone to backing England at silly prices? For me, it's been startling. And I'm surprised there's not been much.
I think you'll find now that the gamblers, if you go and watch people bet on football, the demographic are younger, 25, 26. People watch your show are probably a younger generation, and they have more access and they're more intelligent than you can never know. I mean, when I started in the game, there was people there who just out, I'll have 10 grand in England, I'll have 10 grand on Tim Edman, and the industry was made up of people who had more money than sense, because basically the country was much more, there was people with more money, there was people there who were much more affluent, we weren't going through a recession. Now you get people who are much more shrewd and clever, who have the internet. We live in a world with Twitter, we have a lot of team news, we have a lot of everything, and the punter nowadays is much harder to beat and will knock back England, and he doesn't care if England are playing Italy or England played Germany in the semi-final, they're back Germany.
I agree with everything you said. I think the other thing that's happened this time around is I think this is the first major tournament I can remember where we didn't go into it with the media hyping the fact that we could win it. And I think the expectations have finally caught up with reality a little bit.
I'm not so sure.
I would definitely say in 2 years' time, when you qualify for Brazil, which you will, it'll be the same. There'll be a lack of interest, going off at 16, 18, 20 to 1. I think the tide has turned.
7 to 1 on to qualify for Brazil 2014, but 18 to 1. And we've put that up on the site, and that's drifted 2 points from what it was before. 16 out to 18 to 1.
So the patriotic pound is basically
it's
dead.
Yeah, I remember when England played in Brazil. When England played Brazil in that World Cup in Japan, England were favourites for the win. We're favourites to beat Japan. We were favourites to beat Brazil because the money come in for that tournament, and we were favourites to win the World Cup. And every tournament, England would be 10 or 12 to 1, and either the tournament, we backed off and they would go off at sevens.
Wow. Third favourites for the World Cup.
England,
the 2010 World Cup, we were third favourites,
yeah, you're right.
6 to 1.
You're right.
We're 11 to 2 the morning after the draw.
Out of interest, we've got the World Cup odds. If you fancy a long-range bet, there are there for you. Brazil hosts, of course, at 7 to 2, Argentina at 5 to 1, and then Spain and Germany. England at 18 to 1 on our caption. You're saying they're already drifting from 18.
Yeah, they were 16 to 1 prior to that price change this morning, where we've rejigged the market. I think one thing there to take out of that is that
4 points shorter than Italy, who just schooled us, which is quite
entertaining. Absolutely. Yeah. The 2 of the last 3 World Cups have actually taken place on continents that we haven't been used to in the past. Asia in 2002, and then 2010 in Africa. But I think if you go back and you extract the European and the South American finals, you can only really win it if you're from that continent. That has been true so far. So that's why you've got Brazil and Argentina at the top there, 7 to 2 and 5 to 1. Has much changed in that time? Okay, Italy won it in 2006 on European soil in Germany, but I'm wondering now, the movement of players might just have changed that. So maybe, just maybe, we will see the first ever European winner in South America. But I agree with everything that's been said so far. Punters are wise enough now to know that England just aren't.
Do you think on the tournament, do you think England were bigger or shorter than 18 to 1? Like, I know we've got a long way to go. But
I mean, there's 7 to 1 on to qualify from a group that contains San Marino, Moldova, Ukraine are in there as well, and Poland. So I think they should win their home games. They should go through. I think they'll be there. They'll take part in this tournament. But I think it'll be a very, very different England team that takes to the field in that first game. And if not much has changed in terms of expectation and ability in that time, I just can't see how they're going to manage to win something that now contains Brazil and Argentina on top of the
That's
team.
true. Theo Walcott says that we're peaking for the next World Cup.
So
I'm very reassured by that. No?
No, not
well, he's
at all.
been peaking for about 6 years.
He has, yeah, that's true.
The team that for me standing in this list are Uruguay at 20 to 1.
I was going to
you
say
can get a lot bigger
yeah.
than that.
And I say the other team is on
Copa America winners at 20 to 1 and
exactly.
beaten Copa America teams at 3.5.
Semi-finalists in 2010, Copa America winners last year. They've started the World Cup qualifiers very, very well. I think they're 100%. Them, for me, are the standout price. I think
our traders have been quite shrewd actually in keeping them short. I think we're one of the shortest prices Uruguay, so it's not the place to back them if you are.
Al, let's just talk a little bit more England, and we talked about this at the top of the show with the other two boys, but give me your view of the England team and where it's at, and how disappointed were you with them last night?
Well, I think we've mentioned the media already regarding the actual patriotic money that goes on England before a tournament and whether the expectation was hyped up or not. But if Fabio Capello had been sitting in that dugout last night, I think we'd be reading some pretty shocking headlines and ones that probably would have outranked those that Graham Taylor got when he came back from Sweden in '92. I think that would have been exactly the case. I don't really think that Fabio Capello would have done much different to Roy Hodgson. He just seems to be the charming, lovable figure that the media have somehow attached to and said, well, we quite like Uncle Roy and we're not going to go down this route of rubbish in the team. So what we're getting now is, I mean, Radio 5
the team's almost been given a pass for this tournament kind of thing, hasn't it?
Well, absolutely.
But it's like it's been really bad, so let's lay off them for a bit or something.
You listen to the phone-ins and you've got people saying, oh, this is the best camp that we've ever had, this is the best spirit in the camp we've ever had. Well,
who cares?
Yeah, but also, we were unbeaten up until that point, you know.
Of course they were fine.
You can only describe what's actually going on at the time. Who's to say if we'd been beaten 2-0 by France, there wouldn't have been an absolute uproar?
The disappointing thing for me is the expectations game, where you've got Trevor Brooking, who's supposed to be overall in charge of the England squad and everything, saying that everything on top of getting out the group was a bonus. And you look at the group and you think, well, you are supposed to get out of that group.
I mean, the thing is, one thing is with this is that basically, if Chelsea never won the Champions League, we would be sitting here saying it's the worst performance I can ever remember at all. Because Chelsea actually won the biggest competition in Europe playing exactly the same style, we were led into a belief that's the only way we could play. The players went in there saying the only way you can win this or do win this competition is the Chelsea way. That's how we won.
I mean, how many times do we hear the word Chelsea?
If Chelsea got done over against Barcelona, we wouldn't have played this way. We'd have been a bit more adventurous. But
of course, that's how Roy Hodgson has managed and set up teams throughout his career. So that kind of played into his hands.
I saw him play manager at Fulham. I used to go to Fulham every week, and we never played as bad defensively as that Fulham. They played with two wingers, they played with 4-4-2, two up front, big man up front, but they weren't like that.
The main problem is that unfortunately, the media shaped the views of 80% of the people in this country, and everyone's waking up this morning saying we were unlucky, when really the performance didn't deem that at all. It was exactly what they deserved. So the luck played out, and they were beaten on penalties, but they should have been beaten in the last 20 minutes of the game.
I think it was a par performance, to be honest with you. What you've got to understand is England, for me, is just a good team and nothing more than that. Everyone was saying before the tournament started that the value lay in them getting knocked into the group stages. They won the group.
I wasn't, Chris, I promise.
Yeah, I know you weren't. Most of the people I spoke to and they won the group quite well, 7 points out of 9, and lost on penalties to Italy. If I was an England fan, seeing what they've got in the resources, I would be, I wouldn't be angry, put it that way.
I just don't buy it. I think you're talking about the country in Europe, second only to Germany, with the most participation in football in Europe. You're talking about the richest league in the world. And that's the national team.
But
personally, I don't think it's
club
good enough.
Football's taken over England. The national team doesn't it?
Yeah, but you've got what, 4 or 5 Champions League winners in that starting 11. I mean, I just don't understand why you should accept that kind of performance.
I think, but how many of them play in a creative role for their team that actually offensively win matches? I think the ones that actually had won the Champions League within that squad last night, and even if you go back in the past, maybe only Gerrard playing towards the front.
Well, I'm not a Hodgson fan, so I'll stay out of it. I'm biased because I'm a Liverpool fan and I saw the evil of his works. So I'll let you guys talk about Hodgson, and we've got some fun Hodgson bets that you can have. There are some specials if you want to bet. You can't bet next England manager for at least another couple of years.
You say about Hodgson, what would Harry have done different? If Harry was in charge, what would he have done differently? I don't think Harry Redknapp team would have sat off
that Italian midfield like that.
What quality of players you've got, and the quality of players we've got just simply aren't good enough. I think, but he could have changed this. But Hodgson is what he is. He makes it hard to beat. But we've got some players that come back. Not the greatest of shakes, but I think he'll be.
Well, if you want to bet on Roy Hodgson's future, you can bet on him on when he leaves during the World Cup qualifiers. Is 8-1. Leaving after the World Cup finals, but before the Euro 2016 qualifiers is the 4-1 shortest price right there. So the odds-on favourites to see how his contract looks like.
He will last a long time as England manager because they can't afford to get anybody else in. The appointments are very and the thing is I don't think he's going to have many skeletons in his closet that someone's going to find out. No. I don't think he's going to be a front page exclusive about
the
Harry.
The biggest danger for Roy is that someone plays tapes of his previous games. Surely.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a long time. I think and I think they're going to buy him for a long time. And I think, however much you criticise him, he knows European football. And I think Alan said he's held himself with dignity in his competition. He speaks many languages. He is somebody who the FA will like.
Do you know what? Right?
A long time.
And I know this from following journalists on Twitter, and it's very strange. They're only human, these journalists, and quite often you will read a journalist on Twitter who might have just arrived at Arsenal's training ground, say, and tweet something like, and I'm not kidding, oh, that was a lovely bit of cake in the canteen.
No, it's true.
And their mood just seems to have gone through. And then, I spoke to Theo Walcott, I had a fantastic interview with him, what a wonderful season he's having. And it all seems to be based on their mood, and they'll translate that to their piece. And it won't have anything to do with the way that person has played or has played in the last few weeks. And suddenly we've been given this as the England manager as well, being told that it's okay because his personality is okay and we get on with him, and we like the fact that he stopped to talk to us, and we like the fact that the players stopped to talk to us, and when they were walking around they stopped to talk to us, and that's enough for us as the media. We'll ignore the fact that they played appallingly,
and obviously,
and if it was Fabio,
you can have a beer with the manager. You couldn't have a beer with Fabio Capello, whatever. Chris, you're very down on the England team. We're just going to complete those odds by showing if you think he's going to last a little bit longer. The shortest prices after Euro 2016 and before World Cup 2018. Quite a long range bet.
Yeah, not for me.
I don't think
you
want to wait 5 years.
I don't think the media. I think these honeymoon periods is over now. I think the media might kick in like they probably want to. Really, they all wanted Harry Redknapp, and I think they've just thought, right, let's just give him a chance to Euro 2012. Now I think if he gets off to a bad start in this World Cup qualifying campaign, they'll dig in here. I think, and I wouldn't be too surprised if the style of play is horrible, the results are horrible. He might go during this World Cup qualifying.
That Ukraine, amazingly, England's next game in about 50 days' time is against Italy. A friendly in Switzerland, one of those ones that the FA got tied into because of the deals for playing friendlies abroad. So it's one that nobody wants to play, and I bet they're all dreading it now. But he then plays Moldova away, should win that game, shouldn't be a problem. But Ukraine at home at Wembley, I think that could be key to the way, as Chris says, his profile progresses in the media, and I think that's a key game for him. And then obviously Poland's a difficult game away. He could be in for some stick. And then amazingly, I think we play Scotland in.
Watch out!
In August 2013, we play Scotland. So he's got a few difficult games in and around there, and ones where he's going to have to actually perform. We'll
just finish with you, Nigel, because I think you're a little bit more optimistic about England's future, aren't you? You can see good players coming through.
I coach kids that have done level 1 coaching, the FA coaches, but they're making pitches smaller, they're making football more about skill and about height. We've got kids, I coach who are little guys who have got very good technique, and it's basically smaller pitches. They're making under 7, under 8 football 5-a-side now, smaller goals. They're making boys who go from up to under 10, under 11. Now used to go to 11-a-side football. It's now under 9, so 9-a-side football. So I see some boys coming through. There's a boy who plays with me called a 9-year-old called Louis Heyman, who's going to be on the books of a few big clubs. They're all technically good players. They're all very, very good players. But they're I think the money the FA invested in this new setup.
Do you not think it's attitude though? Because we spoke about this before we came on air, but I saw Ashley Cole and Ashley Young place the ball yesterday for their penalties, and it just looked as if they just weren't.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we ran out of power. We're going to have to finish on. We're going to have to finish on that thought. But according to Nigel, you just have to wait. Might be a very long time. All the good players are currently 9. You might have to wait a little while for England's success. We'll get there eventually. After the break, we're going to be talking tennis. The greatest tennis tournament in the world has just started in Wimbledon, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching the Euro 2012 Betting Zone here on Sports Tonight, and we're going to talk a little bit of tennis. Wimbledon starts. Summer has arrived, allegedly. Let's hope it makes summer arrive. That'd be nice. As ever, there'll be the annual Andy Murray frenzy and the annual quarter/semi-final disappointment, I'm sure. But we're interested in a betting point of view and finding some value for you. So we'll start with our bookie, or one of them. Al, how big is this from a betting point of view? How much does Wimbledon take as a market?
Well, tennis is a huge sport for us, and I mean, throughout the actual season, you know, it's not just 2 weeks in southwest London, but throughout the whole season, a lot of our European customers love betting on the tennis, and you know, we have a full service for all the games and all the tours. When it comes to Wimbledon, yes, the outright market suddenly gets a boost of all this money, where people once a year, punters, are saying, right, I'll have my each way bet or win bet for Wimbledon, mainly on the men's, and now that it's a bit of a closed shop at the top, they're not really getting the outsider at 20 to 1, 16 to 1 that they were getting in the past that they fancied. I think whenever you look at a major tennis tournament now, on the men's side, maybe only 3 people can win it, and Chris is probably going to say 4, but I totally disagree with that.
I know you do. Huh?
Chris, just refresh my memory. Is he Scottish or British? Because I can never remember.
Always Scottish. 100% Scottish. 100% Scottish.
Except for when he wins,
so
then he's British.
Keep away next Sunday when he's lifting the trophy.
Really?
Stay away.
Really? You're confident?
I went too far there, didn't I?
You did a little bit, yeah. We'll talk about Andy Murray in a second, but is tennis one of those sports where punters can still find an edge, or is it now a little bit more exposed and the bookies are kind of all over it?
Oh, it's probably the second biggest sport, isn't it, Alan, in terms of, I think football and tennis, in my previous place I used to work, were the only 2 sports that converted through every domain, every territory, like tennis and football. And I think it's hard now to find an edge because the traders are totally on the ball. Yeah.
And just to give us a spin into Wimbledon then, we've got obviously the big 3 of men's tennis. It's kind of the big 2 now, isn't it, sort of?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe Djokovic was world number 4 just 2 years ago. I mean, he's really came up here the last couple of years, but
he's now 13-8 favourite.
The bet for me is probably the Nadal. I think the gap is the 2011 gap, if it's closing. And you know, we saw that in the I think it was absolutely amazing, the French Open. That's probably his best ever win, his most comfortable win this year. Nadal at Roland Garros, absolutely amazing. I just think I'd have them a bit tighter on the betting between the 2, and I think Nadal's a shout here. Huh?
Yeah, Djokovic already through today, 6-3, 6-3, 6-1, and I think they were actually trying to criticise him on the TV. I mean, you can't really criticise a straight set victory like that against Ferrero. But
he's supposed to peak in a fortnight, isn't he?
Well, they were saying that he wasn't mixing his serves up. I mean, I was only watching. I'm not the biggest sort of tennis expert, but they were saying that he wasn't mixing his serves up, and he was serving to the outside quite a bit.
Probably half asleep,
I think it was probably, yeah. I mean, he wasn't really facing the challenge. Ferrero, it's probably his last ever Wimbledon, and he didn't put up much of a fight. And Djokovic just nicely eased himself into the tournament as champion, as reigning champion, with a straight sets victory. But Nadal, I think after that French Open win and the way that tournament actually played itself out, I think he might think he has the upper hand. And obviously they're separated by the draw, and they could well meet in the final. And I think that probably will be the final.
Yeah, Nige, where do you find an edge now? I know that you're very, very into the tennis market.
I traded tennis for 15 years.
You did.
I've done it for Stan James, who was the very first bookmakers who ever did tennis in running. First firm of Darcy, do 64 matches at Wimbledon. Didn't have any internet, no head-to-head record, and the ones you laid the first 3 bets in, you knew you got it wrong. That was as simple as that, you know, and then you had to just take them off. We were the first ones up. I mean, so I honestly think, I look at the draw. The draw's the most important thing in his tournament. Andy Murray's got the hardest draw you could possibly imagine. He's got some massively dangerous flows. He's got Karlovic, 6'10" guy in the second round. He's got the young kid coming through, Raonic from Croatia, who's got the best first serve percentage in the tour this season. Absolutely unbelievable. He hasn't got it mentally yet. He's a bit like Goran Ivanisevic at a young age. He's got all the game for a grass court player, but he's a nutcase.
We're back in when he comes back in like 20 years.
Yeah, but people got him well short. They've got him well short.
Murray's 10-1 to win the tournament. Just assess that for me.
He's got no chance. He's got no chance.
He's got some chance.
He has. I think if you worked out his price going through match by match to match to match, I've got a computer system that runs all that out. It comes out about 25 to 1 shot. But he's the trouble with him. He he gets to the quarterfinals and then he's against players of an equal, and he's surrounding himself by three of the best players.
Let's have a quick look at the Andy Murray bets. This is the priciest to go through each round. Like, you're kind of
the
betting
prices
on where he's going to
illustrate
finish.
the way that the men's singles tournament is top heavy, because the prices get shorter, and you're thinking, well, if he's 2-1 to get to if he's 2-1 to be knocked out in the semi, then he's obviously got a good chance of lasting the whole way. But then it drifts right out to 10-1 because you know exactly who he's going to be playing when he gets there. So the percentage-wise, you know, it does look as if he's going to get to the last 8.
I'll get some individual tips from you on the tournament in a second. I just want to cover off the women's because they are taking part as well, and then it's actually perhaps a little bit more open than the men's.
There's a couple here I quite like one on the betting. I like Mario Bartoli. He's got a very easy fourth quarter. She's in the quarter with Azarenka, who can't possibly win this tournament. She's
Azarenka 8-1.
She's a clay court talent player through and through. She was world number 1. Started off the season superbly, gone off the ball massively. Bartoli will be a big price, and I think she's a bet to win that quarter at 4-1. I backed her to win that quarter at 4s. Sharapova's obviously she's got the game for grass. She's got the serve. She's come on the back of a French Open winning. And one thing she's the most mentally strong sportswoman in the world by none. You know, if she's 3-5-1 down, she'll still win with a chance. She won't give up a point. Serena Williams can't have at all. Her sister's been battered today. I think the Williams era is totally gone, and I think Lina clay court, Clyce's clay court. Kvitova has got the game to win it, but I think you can get a shot winner here. I think you look at people outside. I think Bartoli got to the final of Wimbledon about 4 years ago, got beat by Serena Williams, and around a 50-1, especially to win her quarter 4s. That fourth quarter is very, very weak.
Nice bit of value. Chris, anything that takes your interest in the women's or the men's draw?
The women's, to be honest, it's just something that doesn't really get me passionate at all. I think back to Sabatini and Graf era, it was fantastic when I was a kid, but no at the moment. I suppose Sharapova winning at Roland Garros, that'll give her a lot of confidence. I don't think she's won at Wimbledon since 2004. The men's, Murray, I think he's got Kilic in the quarter-finals. He won at Queen's. He's playing really well then, and that could be troublesome. So maybe Marin Kilic to win his quarter. I don't know. That's how they
can't bet against Murray though.
You
can recommend it. I'll let you do that, but you can't physically bet against him.
I would never.
An act of sedition.
I don't think you'll make that far, Murray.
Really, you actually think he's going to bomb out?
He plays Karlovic, and he plays the guy called Dimitrov, who had terrible cramps at Queen's, who's probably the best young. He won Junior Wimbledon. He's a proper talent.
So is Murray.
But he plays Ryan. I mean, I don't think Murray's won a game.
I'll split the difference on this. If you had to, I'm just going to commit Al on Andy Murray.
As Chris knows, I despise Andy Murray, and he's one of the biggest Murray fans. So it's probably one of the only things we passionately disagree on. But I'm not the biggest Murray fan. I think he is obviously a very, very good tennis player, but I just don't think he's ever going to go above the line of where his peak performance actually exists.
We're running out of show, so just give me your pick to win the men's.
Not original. I think Djokovic will win it.
Djokovic, Nadal.
2-1
Nadal, Djokovic. I'll take Djokovic. There you go. You just bet them in the forecast for the final. It's easy, right? They're guaranteed to be 1-2. That's all we've got for you on the Betting Zone today. Big thank you to my experts, to the Betting Butler, to Chris Graham and Alan Alger from Blue Square. Continue to enjoy Euro 2012 and Wimbledon. I hope all your bets are winners and we've helped you out a little bit. There'll be more betting at 7 o'clock tomorrow night on Sports Tonight. Good luck with your punting.